Rank, or are you here to hide the paperwork? Colonel Damon Knox stands at the head of the war room table, one hand braced against the steel edge, the other pointing across 20 feet of tension-filled air. The question hangs there, not casual, not curious. It lands like a slap designed to draw laughter from everyone who matters and silence from the one who does not. Lyra Maddox does not answer. She stands in the corner near the auxiliary monitor, a gray suit that could belong to anyone, a notebook pressed against her ribs, hair pulled back in a way that suggests efficiency rather than style. She does not wear rank. She does not wear anything that would make someone look twice. Knox takes a step forward. His boots make a sound on the polished floor that seems louder than it should. Around the table, 18 officers sit or lean or stand with arms crossed, all of them watching the same thing. A woman who should not be here being reminded of exactly that. The screens behind Knox glow with satellite overlays of the Philippine Sea, red zones marked across Okinawa, threat assessments scrolling in real time. The briefing started 11 minutes ago. Lyra walked in at minute 9. "I am waiting," Knox says. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. 26 years in the Navy taught him how to command a room without shouting, how to make a question feel like an order, how to isolate someone in front of witnesses without ever touching them. Lyra lifts her chin half an inch. Her mouth opens, then closes. She glances down at the notebook, then back up, and the movement is so small it could be mistaken for nothing at all. But it is not nothing. It is a decision not to escalate. It is a choice to absorb rather than deflect. Around the room, a few officers exchange looks. One, a lieutenant near the door, shifts his weight and stares at the floor. Knox waits 3 more seconds. Then he turns back to the table, waving a hand as if brushing away something inconsequential. "Right, let us continue." The laughter that follows is not loud, but it fills the space anyway. Someone mutters something about admin overflow. Someone else chuckles. Lyra remains where she is, spine straight, hands steady on the notebook. Her eyes do not leave the map on the screen. The briefing continues. A major presents updated projections on biological weapons recovery efforts near Kadena Air Base. 2 canisters are unaccounted for. Civilian exposure risk is climbing. The Japanese government is demanding answers. Knox listens with his arms folded, jaw set, every inch of him projecting control. He interrupts twice to correct minor details. Both times the officer defers immediately. This is his room, his operation, his authority. Lyra does not move from her corner, but her gaze tracks across the map in a way that suggests she is not just watching, she is cataloging. 4 grid coordinates, 3 transport routes, 2 choke points. Her pen does not touch the paper, but her fingers tighten slightly on the edge of the notebook. Major Ben Harlow, seated 3 chairs down from Knox, glances sideways at her. He is 52, gray at the temples, 28 years of intelligence work etched into the lines around his eyes. He does not stare. He does not make it obvious. But he notices the way she holds the classified folder, grip firm, thumb placed exactly where protocol dictates for secure document handling. Civilians do not hold files like that. Civilians do not know to. Harlow says nothing. He turns his attention back to the briefing. But the thought does not leave him. At the 18-minute mark, Knox slams a hand onto the table. The sound cracks through the room like a rifle shot. "We are not waiting for State Department approval to move assets into contested waters," he says. His voice is iron. "This is a military operation. We do not take orders from bureaucrats who have never set foot on a carrier deck." A captain across the table nods. "Agreed, sir. We have the operational authority. Then we use it." Knox cuts him off. He turns toward the main display, dragging a finger across the touch interface to highlight a naval strike group positioned southeast of Taiwan. "We push the timeline up. Extraction begins at 0400 tomorrow. No delays, no second guessing." He glances over his shoulder at the room. "Anyone here unclear on that?" Silence. Not the kind that suggests agreement. The kind that suggests no one wants to be the next person Knox decides to correct. Lyra shifts her weight. It is a tiny movement, barely perceptible, but Knox catches it. He turns, eyes narrowing. "Do you have a question, Miss?" She does not answer immediately. Her gaze moves from the map to Knox, and for half a second something flickers behind her expression. Not fear, not defiance. Calculation. "No, sir," she says quietly. Knox stares at her for 3 full seconds. Then he smiles. It is not warm. Good. Because I would hate to think we brought a psychological counselor into a tactical briefing just so she could offer feelings about operational timelines. The room erupts in scattered laughter. Not everyone joins in, but enough do. Lyra lowers her gaze again. Knox turns back to the display, satisfied. But Harlow watches her a moment longer. She does not flinch. She does not look embarrassed. She looks patient. The briefing continues for another 7 minutes. Knox outlines asset deployment, communication protocols, contingency plans if the Japanese self-defense forces push back. He speaks with the confidence of someone who has never been overruled, never been questioned in a way that mattered. The officers take notes, the screens update, the clock in the corner ticks past 4:21 a.m. Then Knox stops mid-sentence. He looks directly at Lyra again. "Actually," he says, "I need to ask, what exactly is your function here?" Lyra meets his eyes. "Support." "Support." Knox repeats the word like he is tasting something unpleasant. "Support for whom?" "The unit." "Which unit?" Lyra hesitates, just for a fraction of a second, but Knox sees it. He steps away from the table, moving toward her with the kind of deliberate calm that precedes escalation. "I am going to be very clear, Miss Whoever you are. This is a war room. This is where we plan operations that determine whether sailors live or die. This is not a place for—" "I understand, sir." Knox stops 2 feet away from her. His voice drops. "Do you? Because from where I am standing, it looks like someone at Pearl Harbor decided we needed a feelings consultant to make sure no one gets their emotions hurt during a bioweapon crisis." Lyra does not reply. Knox leans in slightly. "So let me make this simple. You can stay if you tell me your rank, right now." The room goes still. Every officer is watching. Harlow has his pen halfway to the paper, frozen. Lieutenant Cole Everett near the door stares at the back of Knox's head, jaw tight. No one speaks. Lyra looks at Knox, then she looks past him, at the map, at the threat zones glowing red across the Philippine Sea. When she speaks, her voice is steady. "I am here to do my job, Colonel." Knox straightens. His smile vanishes. "That is not an answer. It is the one I have." For a moment, it seems like Knox might let it go. Then he steps back, gestures toward the door with one hand. "Out!" Lyra does not move. "I said out." Knox's voice hardens. "I am not going to repeat myself. You do not have clearance to be in this room. You do not have rank. You do not have a reason to be here. So you are going to leave right now before I have security remove you." Lyra's fingers tighten on the notebook. Her breath is even. Her posture does not change. But something in her eyes shifts, a flicker of something older, something that has seen rooms like this before and made different choices. She does not look away from Knox. She does not apologize. She simply says, "I still have work to do here." The room explodes, not with sound, with tension. Officers lean forward. Harlow sets his pen down completely. Everett takes half a step closer, hand twitching toward his sidearm before he catches himself and stops. Knox stares at Lyra like she just violated every protocol he has ever enforced. Then he moves, fast. He closes the distance between them in 2 strides, reaches out and grips her shoulder, hard. "I do not repeat orders to civilians." He pushes. Not gently. Lyra stumbles backward, her hip catching the edge of the auxiliary table. The notebook falls. She tries to catch herself, but her balance is already gone. Her head strikes the corner of the metal table with a dull, sickening crack. She goes down. For 1 long second, no one moves. Then Lyra pushes herself up onto her hands, and blood runs down the side of her face from a cut just above her temple. The war room is silent, not tense, not expectant, just silent. Harlow half rises from his chair, then stops. Everett stares, mouth open. Knox stands over Lyra, breathing hard, his hand still raised. He does not look sorry. He looks like a man who just enforced order. Lyra touches her temple. Her fingers come away red. She stares at them for a moment, then wipes her hand on the edge of her jacket. Slowly, carefully, she gets to her feet. She does not waver. She does not cry out. She picks up the notebook from the floor, straightens her jacket, and stands exactly where she was before. Blood drips onto her collar. She does not wipe it away. "I still have work to do here," she says again. Knox's jaw tightens. "What did you just say?" Lyra does not answer. She looks past him, at the screens, at the op plan, at the assets arranged across the Pacific like pieces on a chessboard. Her expression is unreadable. Knox steps closer, leaning down so his face is inches from hers. "You want to know what your job is, sweetheart? It is to leave, now." Still, Lyra does not move. Harlow stands fully now, one hand raised. "Colonel." "Sit down, Major." Harlow hesitates. Then he sits. Knox does not take his eyes off Lyra. "Rank," he says quietly, "or I will have MPs drag you out of here in cuffs." Lyra meets his gaze. For the first time since she walked into the room, she speaks more than a single sentence. Her voice is soft, but it carries. "I am here because someone sent me. I am here because this operation has oversight requirements you may not be aware of. And I am here because, whether you believe it or not, my presence in this room is not optional." Knox laughs. It is a short, sharp sound, devoid of humor. Oversight. From a woman with no rank, no clearance, and no authority. He straightens, glancing around the table at the other officers. Does anyone else find this hilarious? A few nods, a few murmurs of agreement. No one speaks up for Lyra. She stands there, blood still visible on her face, and does not defend herself further. She simply waits. Knox shakes his head, turning back toward the main display. "Fine. Stay. But if you interrupt this briefing one more time, I will personally ensure you never step foot in a military facility again." He returns to the map. The briefing resumes. Officers shift in their seats, uncomfortable but unwilling to challenge Knox. Lyra remains standing in her corner, the notebook back in her hands, her posture as rigid as before. Harlow watches her out of the corner of his eye. She does not look shaken. She does not look defeated. She looks like someone enduring something she knew was coming. The next 12 minutes pass in operational detail, asset positioning, comm windows, contingencies if the recovery op goes sideways. Knox dominates the conversation, overriding suggestions, correcting assumptions, reminding everyone in the room that he has run more extractions than most of them have seen on deployment. He is not wrong. He is also not kind about it. At 4:37 a.m., the briefing wraps. Knox dismisses the group with a curt nod. Officers begin filing out, some glancing at Lyra as they pass, none stopping to speak to her. Everett lingers near the door, watching as Harlow approaches her. Knox is already halfway out, deep in conversation with a captain about logistics support. Harlow stops a few feet from Lyra. He does not look at the cut on her face. He looks at the notebook still clutched in her hands. "You all right?" he asks quietly. Lyra nods once. "Yes, sir." "That was—" Harlow trails off. He does not finish the sentence. He does not need to. Instead, he gestures toward the notebook. "You take a lot of notes for someone in psychological support." Lyra glances down at the notebook, then back at him. "Habit. Military habit?" She does not answer. Harlow studies her for a moment longer, then nods slowly. "Right." He starts to turn away, then pauses. "For what it is worth, you held that folder the way someone with a clearance holds it. Just thought you should know someone noticed." Lyra's expression does not change, but something in her eyes softens, just slightly. "Thank you, Major." Harlow leaves. Everett is the last one out, and he looks back once before the door closes behind him. Lyra is alone in the war room now, the screen still glowing with threat data, the room still humming with the low thrum of ventilation and electronics. She sets the notebook down on the table. Her hand shakes, just once. Then she steadies it, pulls a small cloth from her pocket, a cloth with something embroidered on one corner, too small to see clearly from a distance, and presses it against the cut on her temple. The bleeding has slowed. She breathes in for 4 counts, holds for 4, out for 4, holds for 4. Her shoulders drop half an inch. The shaking stops. She looks at the main display. The red zones over Okinawa, the strike group in the Philippine Sea. The timeline Knox just accelerated without clearance from anyone who might have said no. Her gaze lingers on one specific coordinate, a point northeast of Kadena where the biological weapon recovery is supposed to happen. She stares at it for a long time, then she picks up the notebook again, tucks the cloth back into her pocket, and walks out of the war room. She stood there bleeding, and no one helped. If you have ever felt invisible in a room full of power, hit the like button and let us see where this quiet strength leads. The hallway outside the war room is empty. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. Lyra walks with measured steps, not fast, not slow. Her heels click softly on the tile. She passes two sailors heading the opposite direction. They glance at her, at the blood on her collar, but say nothing. She does not acknowledge them. At the end of the corridor, she stops in front of a restroom. She glances left, then right. No one. She steps inside. The door swings shut behind her with a pneumatic hiss. The lights flicker on automatically. Lyra sets the notebook on the edge of the sink, then looks at herself in the mirror. The cut has stopped bleeding, but the skin around it is already starting to bruise. She wets a paper towel, dabs at the wound carefully. The reflection staring back at her is tired. Not broken, not afraid, just tired. She pulls the cloth from her pocket again and spreads it flat on the counter. In the corner, barely visible unless you know to look for it, is a small embroidered seal, a circle with 7 stars arranged in a specific pattern. She runs her thumb over it once, then folds the cloth and tucks it away. Her hands are steady now. She straightens her jacket, smooths her hair, picks up the notebook. Then she leaves. The next 6 hours pass in a strange kind of stasis. Lyra does not return to the war room. She moves through the base like a ghost, present but unnoticed, visible but unremarked upon. She sits in the DFAC during the breakfast rush, a tray of untouched scrambled eggs and toast in front of her, her eyes tracking personnel as they come and go. She listens to conversations at nearby tables. Complaints about duty rotations, jokes about the latest training exercise, speculation about the Okinawa op. No one speaks to her. No one asks if she is okay. She might as well be invisible. At 0900, she is in the admin wing, standing in line at the personnel office. The clerk behind the desk processes leave requests and ID renewals with mechanical efficiency. When Lyra reaches the front of the line, she hands over a thin folder. The clerk glances at it, then at her. "This needs a commanding officer's signature," the clerk says. "It has one," Lyra replies. The clerk frowns, flipping through the pages. "I do not see." Page 4. The clerk turns to page 4, pauses, looks up at Lyra with confusion. "This signature is... I do not recognize this authorization code. It is valid. I am going to need to verify. Go ahead." The clerk picks up a phone, dials an extension. Lyra waits. The clerk speaks in low tones, nods a few times, then hangs up. The confusion on their face has deepened. "I am sorry, ma'am. I need to escalate this. Can you wait here?" Lyra nods. The clerk disappears into a back office. 5 minutes pass. Then 10. Other personnel in line behind Lyra start to get impatient, shifting their weight, checking their watches. Lyra does not move. Finally, the clerk returns, looking flustered. "Ma'am, I am told this is above my clearance level. You will need to coordinate directly with the operations office." "Understood." Lyra takes the folder back and leaves. The clerk watches her go, still looking confused. Lyra does not explain. She does not need to. By mid-afternoon, the base is buzzing with activity. The accelerated timeline for the Okinawa op means logistics teams are scrambling, transport crews are being briefed ahead of schedule, and the flight line is crowded with helicopters being prepped for deployment. Lyra watches from a distance, standing near the edge of the tarmac with her notebook in hand. A crew chief walks past, stops, looks at her. "You lost, ma'am?" "No. This area is restricted during flight ops. I have clearance." The crew chief frowns. "Can I see your badge?" Lyra pulls a lanyard from inside her jacket. The badge hangs at the end. Photo, name, barcode. The crew chief leans in, squints at it, then straightens. "This does not look like standard. It is not. Then I am going to need you to check the code." The crew chief pulls out a handheld scanner, swipes the badge. The device beeps, then beeps again. The crew chief stares at the screen. Their expression shifts from annoyance to uncertainty. Ma'am, this says you have unrestricted access." "Correct." The crew chief looks at her, then at the badge, then back at her. "I have never seen a clearance level like this." "You would not have." The crew chief hesitates, then steps aside. "Right, sorry, ma'am." They walk away quickly, glancing back once. Lyra remains where she is, watching the helicopters. Her gaze lingers on one in particular, a transport being loaded with gear marked for bioweapon containment. She makes a note in her book. Then she turns and walks back toward the main buildings. At 1600 hours, Knox is in a meeting with his senior staff. The conference room is smaller than the war room, but no less intense. 6 officers sit around a table covered in printed maps and status reports. Knox stands at the head, arms crossed, listening as a logistics officer runs through fuel calculations for tomorrow's extraction. The officer finishes, looks up expectantly. Knox nods. Good. Make sure we have contingency reserves in case we need to extend the window. Yes, sir. The door opens. Lyra steps in. Every head in the room turns. Knox's expression hardens immediately. This is a closed meeting. Lyra does not reply. She walks to the table, sets down a single sheet of paper in front of Knox, then steps back. Knox picks it up, scans it. His jaw tightens. What is this? A request for operational review. A request from whom? Me. Knox crumples the paper in one hand. I do not know who you think you are, but you do not get to walk into my meetings and make requests. You do not have the authority, you do not have the rank, and you sure as hell do not have my patience anymore. Lyra meets his gaze. The request is filed. You can ignore it if you choose. You are correct. I will. Knox tosses the crumpled paper into a trash bin beside the table. Now get out. Lyra turns and leaves without another word. The door closes behind her. Knox looks at the other officers. Anyone else want to waste my time today? No one answers. The meeting continues. But Harlow, seated at the far end of the table, stares at the trash bin for a long moment before returning his attention to the briefing. Evening comes. The base settles into a lower tempo as personnel rotate through shifts. Lyra is in the base library, a small, outdated room with rows of reference manuals and a single computer terminal. She sits at the terminal, typing quickly, pulling up files that require 3 levels of authentication to access. A junior officer walks past, glances at the screen, then stops. Ma'am, those files are restricted. I know. Then you should not be. I have access. The officer leans closer, reads the header on the screen. Their eyes widen. That is, how do you have access to joint staff planning documents? Lyra does not look away from the screen. Because I need them. The officer opens their mouth, closes it, then walks away without another word. Lyra continues working. She pulls casualty projections, environmental impact assessments, intelligence summaries on Japanese political response to U.S. military action in contested waters. She cross-references timelines. She makes notes. She does not stop until the terminal auto-locks at 2200 hours due to inactivity protocols. Then she stands, gathers her things, and leaves. She does not sleep that night. She sits in a small, barrack-style room assigned to transient personnel, the lights off, the window cracked open to let in the sound of distant helicopters and the hum of base generators. The notebook is open on her lap. She flips through pages covered in precise handwriting, diagrams, timestamps. Her hand rests on the embroidered cloth from her pocket, spread flat on the bed beside her. The 7-star seal catches the faint light from outside. She stares at it for a long time. Then she folds it, tucks it away, and closes the notebook. At 0300, her phone vibrates. She picks it up, glances at the screen. A single encrypted message. Proceed as planned. She deletes it. Then she lies back on the bed, stares at the ceiling, and breathes. 4 in. 4 hold. 4 out. 4 hold. The night passes slowly. But Lyra does not sleep. When 0415 arrives again, Lyra is back in the war room, the second briefing of the day. Knox is already there, along with the same officers from yesterday. The screens show updated positions: strike group moving into extraction range, support aircraft in holding patterns, comm windows aligned. Knox is in his element, commanding the room with the same authority he always has. When Lyra walks in, he does not even look at her. He just keeps talking. But this time, Harlow watches her from the moment she enters. So does Everett. They do not say anything. They just watch. Lyra takes the same position in the corner, same gray suit, same notebook. The cut on her temple is now a dark bruise, visible even from across the room. No one mentions it. No one asks if she is okay. Knox continues the briefing as if she does not exist. 15 minutes in, Knox pauses. He turns toward the auxiliary console where Lyra stands. "Actually," he says, his tone deceptively casual, "I have been thinking. Maybe it is time we clarified your role here." Lyra looks at him but says nothing. Knox walks toward her slowly. The room goes quiet. "You have been hanging around for 2 days now, taking notes, watching, not contributing. So I think it is fair to ask, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish?" Lyra does not answer immediately. Knox stops a few feet away, arms crossed. "Or maybe the better question is, what gives you the right to be here at all?" Still, Lyra says nothing. Knox smiles. It is not a kind smile. "Let me tell you what I think. I think someone at Pearl Harbor made a mistake. I think they sent you here without understanding what we do. And I think you are too proud, or too stubborn, or too naive to admit you are in over your head." He leans in slightly. "So here is what is going to happen. You are going to leave, quietly, and you are not going to come back. Because if you do, I am going to make sure everyone from here to Washington knows that you interfered with a time-sensitive operation. Do we understand each other?" Lyra looks at him. Then she looks past him, at the main display, at the strike group, at the timeline, at the operational window Knox accelerated without proper authorization. She does not speak. Knox waits. The silence stretches. Finally, Lyra steps away from the wall. She walks toward the center console. Knox moves aside, watching her with a mixture of irritation and curiosity. Lyra sets her notebook down. Then she reaches for the touch interface. "What are you doing?" Knox's voice sharpens. Lyra does not answer. Her fingers move across the screen. She enters a command. The display flickers, then goes black. Every screen in the war room shuts off. The hum of electronics dies. The room plunges into dim, emergency lighting. Officers jump to their feet. Someone shouts. Knox spins toward Lyra. "What did you just do?" Lyra steps back from the console. Her expression is calm. "Testing." "Testing what?" "Your response." Knox's face goes red. "You just shut down a tactical operations center during an active briefing." "Yes." "You do not have the authority to—" Lyra taps the screen again. The systems reboot. Screens flicker back to life. But the display that comes up is different. Not the strike group, not the extraction plan, a new map, a classified overlay showing something else entirely, threat assessment zones that were not visible before, satellite feeds that require clearance levels no one in this room should have. A captain near the table leans forward, squinting. What is that?" Knox stares at the screen, then at Lyra. "How did you access that?" Lyra picks up her notebook. "I used my authorization code." "What authorization code?" Lyra does not answer. She taps the screen one more time. A login prompt appears. At the top, a string of characters. JCS ETH Omega MD3. The room goes silent. Not confused. Silent. An intelligence officer in the back row stands slowly. That is a Joint Chiefs access code. Knox's expression shifts. Confusion, disbelief, anger. That is impossible. No one outside the Joint Chiefs has that level of access. Lyra looks at him. Her voice is quiet, steady. "Correct." The word hangs in the air. Knox stares at her, then at the screen, then back at her. "You are lying." "No. You are a civilian. You are a counselor. You do not have—" "I have exactly what that screen says I have." Knox steps closer. His voice drops to something dangerous. "If you are trying to pull some kind of stunt, I am not. Then prove it." Lyra meets his eyes. For the first time since she walked into this base, she does not look away first. "I do not need to prove anything to you, Colonel." Knox's jaw clenches. He looks around the room at the other officers, all of whom are now staring at Lyra with expressions ranging from confusion to shock. Harlow is on his feet. Everett has moved closer to the door, hand near his sidearm, unsure what is happening but ready to respond. Knox turns back to Lyra. "Fine. If you have Joint Chiefs access, then tell me, what is your actual role here?" Lyra does not answer. Knox's patience snaps. He reaches into his jacket, pulls out a folder and slams it onto the console beside her. "Or maybe I should tell you." Lyra looks down at the folder. Her expression does not change, but something in her posture stiffens. Knox opens the folder, spreads the contents across the console. Documents, photos, reports, all of them marked with her name, and all of them stamped with a single damning word: disavowed. "You want to know what I found out about you?" Knox's voice is cold. "I made some calls, I pulled some strings, and guess what I learned? You are not here on official orders. You are here because you were removed from your previous position, dishonorably, for compromising classified operations." Lyra stares at the documents. Her hands, resting on the edge of the console, begin to shake. Knox leans in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Security breaches, unauthorized contact with foreign nationals, sabotage of satellite systems. That is your record, Miss Maddox. That is who you are." Lyra's breath catches. She looks up at Knox. "Who wrote this?" Knox smiles. "I did." The room goes still. Lyra's eyes widen, not with fear, with something else. Pain, realization, betrayal. Knox straightens, satisfied. "I did not get to where I am by letting civilians interfere with my operations. So when you showed up here with your fake credentials and your fake authority, I made sure everyone who matters knows exactly what you are. A fraud, a liability, a traitor." Lyra's hands tremble. A tear slips down her cheek. She does not wipe it away. She just stares at Knox, her voice barely a whisper. "You do not know what you just did." Knox leans in close, his voice cold and final. "I know exactly what I did. I ended your career. I destroyed your credibility. I made sure no one will ever believe a word you say again." He pauses, then adds with quiet venom, "I erased you because I can." He faked her file to destroy her. But what if she is the only one who can save them? Drop your prediction in the comments. Does she fight back, or does the system bury her? Lyra stands there, tears streaming down her face, the fabricated evidence spread out in front of her like a death sentence. Knox turns away, dismissing her entirely. "Someone get her out of my war room." Two MPs step forward from the back of the room. They move toward Lyra slowly, cautiously, as if approaching someone who might be dangerous. Lyra does not resist. She just stands there, staring at the documents Knox created to destroy her, her breath coming in shallow, uneven gasps. Harlow watches from across the room, his face pale. Everett has not moved from his position near the door. No one speaks, no one intervenes. The MPs reach Lyra. One of them reaches out to take her arm, and then an alarm screams through the base. Red lights flood the war room. Every screen flashes to a new display, a tactical alert, Priority 1, scrambling every system in the building. Officers spin toward the screens. Knox freezes. On the main display, a single message appears in bold red letters. "Unauthorized strike authorization detected. Drone asset Alpha 7 has entered auto-engagement mode. Target, USS Ronald Reagan." The room erupts. Officers shout over each other. Someone yells for comm verification. Someone else is already on the phone trying to reach PACOM. Knox stares at the screen, his face draining of color. The drone, one of the Navy's most advanced autonomous strike platforms, is now locked onto the carrier group in the Philippine Sea, and it is counting down to launch. An intelligence officer near the front stammers, "Sir, only Joint Chiefs level authorization can activate a drone in auto-strike mode. How is this?" Knox spins toward Lyra. His voice cracks. "Did you do this?" Lyra looks at the screen, then at Knox. Her tears have stopped. Her expression is no longer one of pain. It is something else now, something harder. "No," she says quietly. "But this is what I warned you about." Knox's hands shake. "What are you talking about?" Lyra steps away from the MPs, moving toward the center console. No one stops her. "Someone inside your command structure has been planning this. Someone with access, someone who knew how to hide it, and someone who knew that if you kept me out of this room, no one would catch it in time." Knox stares at her. The room is chaos. The countdown on the screen reads 18 minutes to launch. An officer shouts, "We need to override the authorization. Now." Another officer responds, "We cannot. The system is locked. Only Joint Chiefs can override it." Knox turns back to Lyra. His voice is raw. "If you have Joint Chiefs access, then stop it." Lyra looks at him for a long moment. Then she steps up to the console. Her hands move across the interface, entering commands faster than anyone in the room can follow. The countdown does not stop. 17 minutes. "Why is it not working?" Knox demands. "Because," Lyra says quietly. Whoever did this knew the protocols. They built in a failsafe. The system will not respond to a standard override. Then what will it respond to? Lyra does not answer. She keeps working. The room holds its breath. The countdown ticks down. 16 minutes. Knox steps closer, his voice barely above a whisper. If you can stop this, stop it. Please. Lyra's fingers pause over the screen. She looks at him. Before I do, I need you to understand something. What? You asked me for my rank. Lyra's voice is steady now. Calm. The chaos around her fades into background noise. You asked me who I was, and I told you I had work to do here. You did not believe me. You humiliated me. You tried to erase me, and you almost succeeded. Knox says nothing. Lyra turns back to the screen. But you were wrong about one thing. What is that? Lyra enters one final command. The countdown stops. The screen flashes. The alert turns yellow, then green. The drone disengages. The room exhales. Officers collapse into chairs. Someone mutters a prayer of thanks. Knox stares at the screen, then at Lyra. His voice shakes. How did you... Lyra picks up her notebook. She looks at Knox one last time, and then she says the words that will change everything. Because I am Joint Chiefs. The room freezes. Every officer stops moving. Knox's face goes white. Lyra continues, her voice cutting through the stunned silence like a blade. I am Civilian Commissioner 7 of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. My authority supersedes every person in this room, including you, Colonel. Knox's knees buckle. He catches himself against the edge of the console, staring at her in disbelief. Harlow stands slowly, eyes wide. Everett takes a step forward, then stops, unsure what to do. Lyra reaches into her jacket, pulls out a badge, a different one from the lanyard she showed the crew chief earlier. This one has a seal on it, 7 stars arranged in a circle. She sets it on the console beside the fabricated documents Knox created. The contrast is stark, fake versus real, lies versus truth. An officer near the back whispers, 7. That is the ethics oversight seat. Knox opens his mouth. No sound comes out. Lyra does not wait for him to recover. She turns to the MPs who were about to escort her out. You are dismissed. They leave immediately. She looks at Harlow. Major, I need you to run a full audit of terminal access logs for the past 72 hours. Someone in this room activated that drone. Find them. Harlow nods, moving to a secondary console without hesitation. Lyra looks at Everett. Lieutenant, seal the war room. No one leaves until we identify the breach. Everett moves to the door, locking it down. Lyra finally turns back to Knox. He is still standing there, staring at her, his entire world unraveling in real time. She steps closer. Her voice is quiet, almost gentle. You asked me why I let you treat me the way you did. You asked me why I did not fight back. Knox cannot speak. Lyra continues. Because I needed you to. I needed you to underestimate me. I needed you to be so certain of your authority that you would not notice what was happening right under your nose. And I needed the person who planted that malware to think they had won. Knox's voice is a rasp. I did not know. No, you did not. Lyra picks up the fabricated file he created, holds it for a moment, then sets it back down. You tried to destroy me to protect your ego, but in doing so, you almost let a traitor start a war. Knox's legs give out. He sinks to his knees, literally, on the floor of the war room. Officers around the room watch in stunned silence. Lyra does not gloat. She does not smile. She just looks at him with something that might be pity, or exhaustion, or both. Then she turns away and gets to work. Harlow's fingers fly across the keyboard at the secondary console. Lines of code scroll past access logs from every terminal in the war room for the past 3 days. Lyra stands behind him, watching the data stream. Knox remains on his knees, staring at nothing. Around the room, officers sit frozen, unsure whether to move or speak. The only sound is the hum of electronics and Harlow's rapid typing. Commissioner, Harlow says without looking up, I have something. Lyra leans closer. On the screen, a series of login attempts, all from Terminal 7, all outside normal duty hours, 02:30 a.m. yesterday, 03:15 the day before, and tonight, At 0345, just 20 minutes before the drone activation, Harlow highlights the user ID. This terminal was assigned to Captain Raymond Voss, Intelligence Liaison. He has been accessing classified strike protocols for 72 hours. Lyra's expression does not change. Where is he now? Harlow checks the personnel roster. According to the system, he logged out at 0400 and left the building. He is still here. Harlow looks up at her. How do you know? Because he is waiting to see if it worked. Lyra turns toward Everett. Lieutenant, pull the security footage for all exits in the last 30 minutes. Everett moves to another console, accessing the base security network. His eyes scan multiple camera feeds simultaneously. Then he stops. Commissioner, I have him. He is in the logistics annex, East Wing, 2nd floor. Lyra nods. Major Harlow, you are with me. Lieutenant, keep this room locked. No one communicates with anyone outside until we have Voss in custody. Harlow stands. Knox finally finds his voice, hoarse and broken. Commissioner, let me help, please. Lyra looks at him. For a moment it seems like she might refuse. Then she nods once. Stay behind us. They move quickly through the corridors, Lyra in front, Harlow and Knox following. The base is quiet at this hour. Most personnel are either sleeping or deployed. The East Wing Logistics Annex is dim, lit only by emergency strips along the floor. Lyra moves with precision, checking corners, listening. Harlow has his sidearm drawn. Knox follows unarmed, his face pale. They reach the 2nd floor. A single light spills from an office at the end of the hallway. Lyra signals for them to stop. She approaches alone, footsteps silent on the linoleum. Through the half-open door, she can see Captain Voss sitting at a desk, staring at a laptop screen. He looks calm, too calm. Lyra pushes the door open fully. Voss looks up. His expression does not register surprise, just resignation. Commissioner Maddox. Captain, Voss closes the laptop slowly. I assume you stopped it. Yes. He nods, almost to himself. I thought you might. He leans back in his chair, hands visible on the armrests. How long have you known? Since yesterday. You left fingerprints in the access logs. Sloppy work for someone in intelligence. Voss laughs, a short, bitter sound. I did not think anyone was paying attention, especially not a civilian counselor. Lyra steps into the room. Harlow and Knox move to flank the doorway, blocking any exit. Who are you working for? Does it matter? Yes. Voss stares at her for a long moment, then he shrugs. Private contractors, defense companies who stand to profit if tensions escalate in the Pacific. They pay better than the Navy does, and they do not ask you to risk your life for people who do not appreciate it. So you were willing to start a war. I was willing to create an opportunity. Voss stands slowly, hands still visible. You think I am the only one? There are others. People who are tired of watching politicians handcuff military operations. People who understand that sometimes force is the only language that works. Lyra does not respond. Voss takes a step toward her. Harlow raises his weapon. Captain, do not move. Voss stops. He looks at Lyra with something like curiosity. You let him humiliate you. You let Knox treat you like garbage for 2 days. Why? Lyra meets his gaze. Because I needed you to think I was powerless. I needed you to believe you had already won. People make mistakes when they feel safe. Voss smiles faintly. You are good. Better than I expected. You are under arrest. Voss nods. I know. He holds out his wrists. Harlow moves forward, snapping cuffs into place. As he does, Voss looks past him at Knox, still standing in the doorway. Colonel, I hope it was worth it, destroying her, because she just saved your entire career. Knox says nothing. Harlow escorts Voss out of the room. Lyra watches them go, then turns to Knox. He looks like a man who has aged 10 years in the last hour. Commissioner, he begins, but she raises a hand. Not here. They return to the war room in silence. Everett unlocks the door as they approach. Inside, the other officers have not moved. They stand as Lyra enters. She does not acknowledge them. She walks directly to the center console, pulls up the comm interface, and initiates a secure line. A voice answers after 2 rings. Clipped, professional, unmistakably senior. This is Admiral Daniels. Admiral, this is Commissioner Maddox, civilian seat 7. There is a pause, then, Commissioner, I was told you were conducting oversight in the Pacific Theater. Is there a problem? Yes, sir. We had an attempted unauthorized strike activation. The threat has been contained. One arrest made. Captain Raymond Voss, intelligence liaison. He will be transferred to your custody within the hour. Another pause. Understood. I will have a team en route immediately. Commissioner, do you require additional support? No, sir. The situation is stable. And Colonel Knox? Lyra glances at Knox, who stands near the back of the room, shoulders slumped. He will be filing a full report. I recommend administrative review, but no charges. Noted. Thank you, Commissioner. The line disconnects. Lyra sets down the handset and turns to face the room. Every officer is staring at her. She reaches into her jacket, pulls out the challenge coin she has been carrying, and sets it on the console. It is not standard issue. 7 stars encircle an eagle. Beneath it, engraved text, Civilian Commissioner, Joint Chiefs of Staff. Harlow steps closer, staring at the coin. I have never seen one of these. There are only 9 in existence, Lyra says quietly. 1 for each commissioner seat. Most people in the military will never meet one of us. We operate in the background. We observe, we report, and when necessary, we intervene. A major near the front speaks up, voice uncertain. Commissioner, why were you sent here? Because there were red flags in the operational planning for the Okinawa extraction, accelerated timelines, bypassed authorizations. Someone at Pentagon suspected internal compromise. I was sent to confirm. And you did? Yes. Knox finally moves. He walks slowly toward Lyra, stops a few feet away. His voice is barely audible. I need to know the file I created, the accusations. Were any of them true? Lyra looks at him. No. Knox closes his eyes. I destroyed you. I tried to ruin your life, and it was all a lie. Yes. Why did you let me? Lyra picks up the coin, turns it over in her hand. Because if I had stopped you, Voss would have gone underground. He was watching me, watching how the command structure responded. If I had pulled rank immediately, he would have aborted. We would never have caught him. Knox's voice cracks. So you let me hurt you. You let me humiliate you in front of everyone. You bled. You cried. All so I would not suspect. Yes. Knox drops to one knee again, not out of weakness this time, out of something else. Respect, shame, gratitude. Commissioner, I do not have words for what I did. I do not have an excuse. I thought I was protecting my command. I thought I was defending my authority, but all I did was... You did what you believed was right, Lyra interrupts. Her voice is softer now. You were wrong, but you were not malicious. You were scared of losing control, and someone used that fear against you. Knox looks up at her, tears in his eyes. How can you forgive me? Lyra crouches down so she is at eye level with him. I am not here to forgive you, Colonel. I am here to make sure this does not happen again. She pauses. You are a good officer. You have saved lives. You have led men and women through impossible situations. But you let your pride blind you, and that almost cost us everything. Knox nods slowly. What happens to me now? That depends on you. Lyra stands, offering him a hand. He takes it, and she pulls him to his feet. You can fight the review. You can try to justify what you did. Or you can own it, learn from it, and become the leader your people need. Knox wipes his face. I will do whatever you ask. I am not asking anything. I am telling you what I already know. You are better than this. The room is silent. Then Harlow speaks. Commissioner, what do you need from us? Lyra looks around at the officers. Full cooperation with the investigation. Written statements from everyone who witnessed the drone activation, and a commitment to retraining on civilian oversight protocols. Heads nod. Lyra continues. This is not about punishment. This is about making sure we do not have another Voss. Someone who thinks betraying their oath is acceptable because they disagree with policy. An intelligence officer near the back raises a hand. Commissioner, you said there were others. How many? Lyra's expression hardens. 3 more. We know their names, we know their positions, but we do not know when they will act. That is why I am here, and that is why I need all of you to understand something. She picks up the coin again, holds it so everyone can see. This represents oversight, not control. We do not command troops. We do not run operations. We watch, We ask questions. And when we see something wrong, we step in. Not because we want power, but because someone has to make sure the system works. She sets the coin back down. Colonel Knox asked me why I let him humiliate me. The answer is simple. I wore his contempt like armor, because strength is not about making noise. It is about discipline when no one is watching, and justice when no one is clapping. The words settle over the room. Officers exchange glances. A few nod slowly. Knox stares at the floor. Lyra picks up her notebook, the same one she has been carrying since she arrived. I will be filing my report by 0800. The Admiral will be here within 2 hours. Until then, this room is a crime scene. No one touches anything. No one speaks to media, and no one leaves this base without clearance from me. Harlow steps forward. Understood, Commissioner. Lyra nods. Then she turns and walks toward the door. Knox follows her. Commissioner, wait. She stops. Knox struggles to find words. When you said I was not your enemy, did you mean it? Lyra looks at him. You were never my enemy, Colonel. Blindness was. She leaves. The door closes behind her. The officers remain in the war room, staring at each other, processing what just happened. Harlow moves back to the console, pulling up the full access logs. Everett unlocks the door, positioning himself outside as a guard. Knox stands in the center of the room, alone in a crowd, replaying every moment of the last 2 days in his head. 4 hours later, the sun rises over the Pacific. Admiral Daniels arrives with a team of investigators and military police. Voss is transferred into custody without incident. The war room is swept for additional compromises. Terminals are audited. Personnel are interviewed. By mid-morning, the base is locked down tight. Lyra sits in a temporary office writing her report. The cut on her temple has been cleaned and bandaged properly. The bruising is darker now, but she does not try to hide it. When the Admiral enters, she stands. He waves her down. Commissioner, sit. She sits. The Admiral takes the chair across from her, studying her for a moment. I read the preliminary findings. You did good work. Thank you, sir. I also read the file Knox created, the accusations, the fabricated evidence. The Admiral's voice hardens. He committed a serious offense. Falsifying official documents, assaulting a civilian commissioner. Those are court-martial charges. Lyra meets his gaze. I am requesting leniency. The Admiral raises an eyebrow. Why? Because he saved us 23 minutes when it mattered. He followed my orders when every instinct told him not to trust me, and he will carry this with him for the rest of his career. That is punishment enough. The Admiral considers this. Then he nods. Administrative review, temporary suspension from command pending retraining, no court-martial, but it goes in his record. Agreed. And you? Are you all right? Lyra touches the bandage on her temple. I will be. The Admiral leans back. Commissioner, I have worked with Joint Chiefs oversight before. I have never seen one take the approach you did, letting them underestimate you, absorbing the abuse. Most commissioners walk in and take control immediately. Most commissioners do not need to catch a traitor. Fair point. The Admiral pauses. For what it is worth, what Knox did to you was inexcusable. You should not have had to endure that. Lyra does not respond immediately. When she does, her voice is quiet. I did not enjoy it, sir, but I understood it. Knox was not cruel because he is a bad person. He was cruel because he was scared, and fear makes people dangerous. You sound like you forgive him. I do not forgive. I understand. There is a difference. The Admiral studies her. You are an interesting person, Commissioner. I am a patient one. He stands. The rest of the investigation will take a few days. Do you need anything? No, sir. I have what I need. The Admiral leaves. Lyra finishes her report, submits it through secure channels, then stands and stretches. Her body aches. She has not slept in 48 hours. Before she closes the file, something catches her eye on the security log summary, a 3-minute gap in the access timestamps from 2 nights ago. No entry, no exit, just empty air where someone should have been recorded. She highlights it, adds a note for follow-up investigation, then saves the file. The anomaly sits in her mind like a splinter. Not urgent, not yet, but worth remembering. She makes a mental bookmark, then powers down the terminal. But there is one more thing she needs to do. She finds Knox in the DFAC, sitting alone at a corner table, staring at a cup of coffee he has not touched. She sits across from him. He looks up, startled. Commissioner. Colonel. They sit in silence for a moment. Then Knox speaks. I have been thinking about what you said, about wearing contempt like armor. And? I do not know how you did it. I would have broken. Lyra looks at him. You did break. You just did it where no one could see. Knox flinches. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, it is supposed to make you think. Lyra leans forward slightly. You asked why I hid who I was. Here is the truth. I had to let you believe I was powerless, so Voss would believe it too. If I had walked in here with authority, he would have hidden deeper, he would have waited, and eventually he would have tried again. But by letting you dismiss me, by letting you hurt me, I gave him confidence. He thought the system was too broken to catch him, and that made him careless. Knox processes this. So you sacrificed yourself. I did my job. It is more than that. Lyra does not argue. Knox continues. I need you to know something. When I wrote that file, when I accused you of being a traitor, I believed it. I convinced myself you were a threat because it was easier than admitting I was wrong about you. And that terrifies me. Because if I can do that to you, who else have I done it to? Lyra does not answer. She does not need to. Knox already knows. He rubs his face, exhausted. What happens now? Now you rebuild. How? One decision at a time. Lyra stands. The Admiral is recommending you for retraining. Ethics, oversight protocols, bias recognition. It will not be easy, but it will make you better. Knox nods. Commissioner, before you go, can I ask you something? Yes. Did you ever think about quitting, walking away, when I pushed you, when I humiliated you in front of everyone? Did you think about giving up? Lyra looks at him for a long moment. Then she pulls the embroidered cloth from her pocket, the one with the 7-star seal, and sets it on the table between them. This was given to me 12 years ago when I took the oath to serve as a commissioner. The person who gave it to me said something I have never forgotten. What did they say? A brief flash crosses her mind. 8 seconds, no more. A Pentagon conference room. Maps spread across polished wood. An admiral's weathered hands placing this very cloth in hers. The weight of it heavier than fabric should be. His voice, gravelly and certain. We need you invisible, Maddox. Let them underestimate you. Justice does not need a stage. She had nodded then, feeling the stars press into her palm like a brand. She feels them now. Lyra refocuses on Knox. They said justice is not loud, it is patient. And the moment you start seeking applause for doing what is right, you have already lost. Knox stares at the cloth, then at her. I do not deserve your patience. You do not get to decide that. Lyra picks up the cloth, folds it carefully, and tucks it away. You only get to decide what you do next. She walks away. Knox watches her go, then looks down at his untouched coffee. For the first time in 2 days, he allows himself to feel the full weight of what he did, and what he almost caused. She saved the base they tried to destroy her in. If this story gave you chills, smash that share button, because justice this quiet deserves to be heard. And stick around. There are 3 more like Voss still out there. 2 weeks later, the war room has been renovated. New security protocols, new oversight procedures, and a new plaque mounted on the wall near the entrance. Civilian oversight equals command authority. Respect the chain. Knox stands in front of it, reading the words for the 3rd time that morning. He has been cleared to return to limited duties pending completion of his retraining. His career is not over, but it will never be what it was. He knows that. He has accepted it. Harlow approaches, carrying a folder. Colonel, the Admiral wants to see you. Knox takes the folder, opens it. Inside is a commendation for his role in assisting Commissioner Maddox during the Voss incident. He stares at it. This is a mistake. No, sir. The Commissioner recommended you for it. Knox looks up sharply. She what? She wrote in her report that your cooperation in the final minutes prevented potential casualties. She said you demonstrated the ability to adapt under pressure and prioritize mission over ego. Knox closes the folder. Where is she now? She left 3 days ago. Another assignment. Knox nods slowly. He looks back at the plaque, then at the folder. Then he does something he has not done in years. He smiles, not out of pride, out of gratitude. and hope. Across the Pacific, Lyra sits in a secure office at a different base, reviewing files on 3 names, 3 officers, 3 potential threats. The folders are thicker than Voss's was, more years of service, deeper connections, higher clearances. One is Navy, one is Air Force, one is civilian contractor with Pentagon access. Each file marked with the same red flag Voss had: unexplained communications, financial irregularities, ideology shifts, patterns that mean nothing alone but everything together. Her phone vibrates. She picks it up, reads a message. Tower 4 sends regards. We have 3 more. She deletes the message. Then she opens a new file, begins making notes. The work is not done. It never is. But that is why she is here. That is why she took the oath. And that is why, no matter how many times people like Knox try to break her, she will keep getting back up. Because justice is not loud. It is patient. And she has nothing but time. She closes the file, stands, and looks out the window at the flight line. A transport is being loaded. Personnel are moving with purpose. The base is alive with the business of defense. She watches for a moment, then turns back to her desk. There is a knock at the door. She opens it. A young lieutenant stands there, nervous. "Ma'am, they said you wanted to see me." "Yes, come in." The lieutenant enters. Lyra gestures to a chair. "I understand you filed a complaint about your commanding officer. Harassment." The lieutenant nods, looking down. "Yes, ma'am, but no one believed me." Lyra sits across from them. "I believe you." The lieutenant looks up, eyes wide. "You do?" "Yes, and I am going to make sure it is investigated properly. But I need you to do something for me. Anything." Lyra leans forward. "I need you to be patient. I need you to trust the process. And I need you to remember that sometimes the people with the most power are the quietest ones in the room." The lieutenant nods slowly. "Okay. Good." Lyra hands them a card with a secure contact number. "If anything changes, you call me directly. Do not go through your chain of command. Do not wait. You call me." "Yes, ma'am." The lieutenant leaves. Lyra returns to her desk, picks up the next file. 3 more like Voss. 3 more threats to the integrity of the system, but also 3 more opportunities to prove that oversight works. That justice, even when it is quiet, even when it is patient, eventually prevails. She opens the file, begins reading, and somewhere in another war room on another base, another officer is about to learn the same lesson Knox did. That underestimating the quiet ones is the most dangerous mistake you can make. Lyra does not smile. She does not need to. She just gets back to work. Justice is not loud. It is patient, and she has nothing but time.
Every soldier carries a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.